Here we're going to tie a fly called the Tungstone. This is a tungsten stonefly nymph. First thing I did was added a tungsten gold bead. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to add the tails, which are going to be 2 pieces of brown, either turkey or goose biots. And I'm going to arrange those biots so that they splay away from each other there. And I'm going to tie these in so that they are about half the length of the shank of the hook. I pinch those into place very tight, and I take my thread and just tighten down, bite right down onto them. And I can take my thread forward. Once I get near the bead, I can just take those pieces of biot and just trim them out of there. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to add the back half of the body material. For that we're going to use some FINO skin. I'm using a mottled tan FINO skin. We're just going to tie this on upside down so that the mottled portion, mottled color, faces up when we pull it over. Once we've got that tied in all the way to the tail, I can tie in my small copper wire. And now we're ready to dub the back half of the body. I'm going to use a Whitlock SLF blend dubbing in golden stone. All I'm going to do is just build a nice tapered body as it goes forward. And I'm going to leave a little bit of room up here by the thorax. I got to be careful not to get too close. I need to leave a little bit of room for the next few steps. So I'm going to stop right there. That's about enough. Left a little more than a bead space. Next thing to do is to take that FINO skin right over the top, lash it down. Then I can take my wire. I'm going to basically segment this FINO skin. And I can secure the wire. Spiral it out of there. I can trim out the excess skin there. Now we're going to tie in a set of legs. For that I'm going to use just a natural India henback. I'm going to take a clump here. I'm going to tie these in. They're going to be about half the length of the body. They're going to splay off to the side just like so. And I do this on each side real quick. Just lashing it down with a couple of wraps. And then you could trim out the excess. Now we're going to add a wing pad to the fly here. I'm just going to take another piece of FINO skin, lash it down all the way to the legs, trim out the excess, and then I'm going to trim this wing pad so that it's about half the length of the legs. So I just get in there and trim it. Still a little long, just like so. Oh, a little crooked too, so I'll just straighten that out. There we go. Once you've done that, we can build up a small thorax. I'm just going to use the same dubbing here, the golden stone. There we go. Just takes a couple of wraps. Now we're ready for the front legs. So I'm going to take the same material, that India henback. I'm going to tie those legs in, and I want those legs basically to be as long as the back leg. So basically what I mean by that is the tips will barely touch the tips of the other legs. This material's rolling on you a little bit, so you kind of have to force it where you want it. There we go. So I've got my other set of legs there. Do the same thing on the other side. There we go. These ones are rolling on me too. Let's try that again. What I'm actually going to do is add a little more dubbing. They're getting sucked down into the head there and rolling. Add just a hair more dubbing up near the front of the hook. That should fix the issue here. Alright, let's try this again. There we go, much better. And once you've got those legs lashed down, you can add the last wing pad. Just tie that right on top of the shank of the hook. I like to make this wing pad a little bit larger than the last one, a little bit wider. And you can trim it, and I'm going to trim it basically to the length of the first wing pad that we tied. There we are. And the last thing you want to do is add just a smidgen of dubbing to the thread, and what I'll do is I'll very lightly coat the thread with the dubbing for this step. Just barely coat the thread with a thin sliver, and we're just going to cover up the work that we just did, and then you can whip finish. Trim out any fuzzies that you have hanging off. And that's all there is to the Tungstone. It's a very heavy little tungsten nymph, little micro kind of stone, smaller than your large rubber legs. Imitates the smaller stoneflies that are squirting around in the water. And this can also be tied in a flashback version. You basically just take the strip of flash and tie it in first thing before your first piece of FINO skin. You can just pull it over the back. That's all there is to the Tungstone.